What's up guys, it's Humphrey. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about some of the money habits that are holding you back financially and how to fix them. The point of this video is that even small decisions that you make day to day will actually have a long-lasting effect on the rest of your financial future. A lot of these habits that I've actually researched today are things that we do on a regular basis that we might not even be cognizant of. If we can break or at least be aware of some of these habits that we're making, then hopefully we can be a lot better off in the medium to long term. If you're like me and you want to be retired, sitting on a yacht someday, just balling out, eating cocktail shrimp and playing Animal Crossing, then you want to watch this video all the way to the very end and really be honest with yourself when it comes to some of these habits. If you're guilty of any of these poor money habits along the way, then you want to be able to face them head on, address them as quickly as you can, and reverse them so that you can be a little bit better off in the future. Now, one habit we should all get into the habit of is actually pressing the like button and subscribing to my channel, because a large percentage of you guys are actually not subscribed to my channel, even though you watch my channel a lot. So if you do end up enjoying this content, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind. Okay, with that being said, the first money habit that needs to be changed for a lot of you guys is actually failing to save for the future. This is something that just ends up happening to people. They just forget to save. So all we really have to do to really beat this is to plan a lot better. Saving for the future is actually pretty easy if you're able to do the following steps. Number one, try automating your savings. So basically what happens is every time you get paid, let's say it's every 2 weeks, you can set up a recurring transfer within your own bank account so that you take out a certain percentage of your paycheck automatically every 2 weeks. By doing that every time you're paid, you're not even thinking about all the money that's going into your savings account. You just see whatever you have in your checking account or wherever main account that you have your paycheck going into. And if you only spend that amount, then that's fine, because at least you're saving automatically otherwise. Step two is we want to trim some of the expenses that we're doing on a regular basis that we might not even need. But to do that, we actually need to know how much we're spending on a fixed and a variable basis. So basically, if after you watch this video, if you go through all of your credit card statements and your bank statements, you can figure out for the last 1 to 6 months basically how much you spend on a monthly basis. And hopefully at the end of this video, what you do is you actually categorize your expenses in terms of fixed versus variable. So fixed expenses are things that you need to pay on a monthly basis, such as your rent or your car payment. Other examples could be utilities, insurance, monthly debt payments, subscriptions and things like that. For variable expenses, those are anything that you have under your own control. So these are things like spending money on groceries, going out to shop, going out to eat, etc. Now, most people tend to try to trim their variable expenses because that is where they have the most control, and it's probably the easiest place to start reducing your expenses. If you're able to assess basically where all your money is going within your variable expenses, you can start to trim some of the categories that you might be overspending in. If you're able to do that, then what you can do is to start to save some of that money towards your future. So just by doing these 2 steps, which is automating your savings and trimming your expenses, you're gonna be a lot better off and avoid the poor money habit of not saving for your financial future. The next money habit that I see a lot of people making the mistake of is trying to keep up with their friends. And this is particularly dangerous if you have a friend that's making a lot more money than you are and has a more expensive lifestyle or more expensive taste. You need to resist the temptation to keep up with them if it's not within your own means. So if your friend all of a sudden starts inviting you to, let's say, $100 per head dinners all the time, then that's something you might want to stay away from, or at least be honest with them and say, listen, I don't really have $100 a night to spend on dinner. If they're really your friend, they're gonna understand that, and that's gonna be totally cool, and you guys can do other types of activities that might not require so much capital every single night. But when it comes to managing your finances, you wanna be very insular. So what that means is you wanna be looking out for yourself, because a lot of your friends might not have that kind of idea of they wanna look out for you because they're so focused on themselves. Everyone's kind of living their own life and is on their own timeline. So if you're not as successful as your friends right now, that doesn't mean you're not gonna be more successful than them later on. Now, even though keeping up with your friends is something you should avoid, you still wanna use this with a grain of salt or with a little bit of discretion. Even though I'm saying you shouldn't keep up with your friends, there are some situations in which you wanna use this suggestion with discretion. For example, if you're at a birthday dinner that you agreed to go to and maybe you didn't order as much food or as many drinks as some of your friends, and all of a sudden the bill comes and there's 8 of you guys and you guys just wanna split it evenly, sometimes it's not worth kind of fighting or arguing about an extra $5 or $10 you might have to put on your tab. In this case, it might just be worth biting the the bullet in terms of paying a little bit more just to keep things a little bit more smooth, especially in the social dynamic. Maybe the real problem was not setting your expectations super clearly before you went to that birthday dinner. So whenever I go to a birthday dinner, I know that I'm just gonna have to spend a little bit extra than whatever I order just because of miscellaneous things that come up on the tab, especially with tax and tip. That's always something that people don't account for. So you wanna avoid keeping up with your friends if it starts to become really unreasonable, but for certain situations like the birthday dinner situation that I just talked about, that might be a more reasonable way to keep up with your friends instead of just saying, okay, I'm not gonna do any social events whatsoever. The next money habit you should be avoiding is lifestyle inflation or lifestyle creep. One of the biggest dangers of when you start to make more money is that your lifestyle starts to inflate over time very slowly and very unnoticeably. Basically what happens is when you start to make more, you feel like you can spend more all of a sudden because you have all this extra discretionary income. I know personally that when I was a college student, I was okay living with 3 to 4 roommates to keep housing costs down. I was not going out to eat all the time, and I didn't really spend money on unnecessary things. But after college, I started working at a job that was paying me $40,000 a year in salary, and I was living at home at the time, so that felt like a lot of money to me, getting like a $2,900 paycheck every single month without having any expenses. At that time, I just felt like I could buy whatever I wanted. So, you know, there was a gym membership that was $115 a month. I was like, yep, I'll take that. There was a car payment that was $300 a month. I was like, yeah, I'll take that because I have so much extra money. But that's actually an example of lifestyle inflation, and it actually keeps us from saving more money for our futures. One of the best ways to combat lifestyle inflation or lifestyle creep is just to pretend like you don't make as much money as you do. Resist the temptation to upgrade your lifestyle at every opportunity, and you're gonna be a lot better off. So one of the biggest things is to live below your means. If you're able to continue to increase your income throughout your life, but still keep your expenses rather low, then what you're doing is creating a gap between your expenses and your income. By having this gap, this is actually going to allow you to build wealth even faster, and that's one of the ways that I actually mentioned how millionaires actually like to manage their money in my video, 5 ways millionaires like to manage their money. The next money habit that I notice people making is that they actually pay for something called status. So here's a good question for you. Would you rather look like $1 million or have $1 million in your bank account? One of the biggest wastes of money out there, in my opinion, is buying things for status or buying signaling goods. I personally just don't think it's a good use of your money. I know that a lot of people like to buy certain things just to show off to their friends, but in actuality, they might have a lot of credit card debt that they haven't even paid off yet, or student loans that they haven't paid off yet as well. A good example of a signaling good is something like a Rolex. Most people that buy a Rolex are probably buying it just for the status symbol. It represents to outsiders that you're successful enough to buy, let's say, a $10,000 watch. Now, there are some watch fanatics that definitely appreciate the inner workings of a Rolex and the complication of owning a cool timepiece like that, but I would say the majority of people are buying it for status, and the minority of people are actually buying it for the actual inner workings of the watch. The other thing is that if everyone owned a Rolex in the world, then it wouldn't be as desirable anymore, and actually people wouldn't view it as a signaling good. The fact is that people just want to own it to look different, but I'm saying you don't even have to worry about that, because what really matters is how you're doing financially. Imagine that this year alone, you make 5 money decisions a day every single day, and over the course of a year, that's actually 1,825 money decisions that you're gonna make. You can make 1,824 fiscally responsible money decisions throughout the course of your year, but if you make one money decision that's based on status, for example, buying that designer handbag or buying that Rolex, you could have just undone all of the great decisions that you've made throughout the year. In this case, even a once in a while money habit like picking up a designer bag could actually hurt your finances for the rest of your life. Now, obviously, there will be times when you want to celebrate a promotion or celebrate a victory with something fancy or something nice for yourself, and that's totally fine, but you just don't want this to be the norm. You want it to be the exception. All right, the next bad money habit I notice people doing is actually paying for subscriptions that they don't actually use. According to the survey online, more than 70% of consumers surveyed say they continue to pay for unwanted subscriptions simply because they forgot to cancel the service. I mean, this is even true for me. I subscribe to a few premium blogs for tech information, and for a while I wasn't even reading it, and I was still paying $12 a month for it. So it's always good to take a quarterly or half yearly look at your subscriptions and kind of just assess what you're actually using and what you're actually not. If there's a subscription that you don't use on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis, you might want to look at cutting that out of your expenses. You could be wasting hundreds of dollars every single year just by not cutting out a simple subscription, and that's the main reason why these subscriptions exist. People really just want you to forget about it and continue to give them money. The next money habit I want to talk about is paying only the minimum on your credit card balance. Guys, if you watch my videos, you should know that you should never just pay the minimum on a credit card, because by doing that, they're actually making money off of you by charging you a lot of credit card interest. Most credit cards only require you to pay off about 1 to 3% of your balance every single month, and that's how they actually get you. An example I like to use here is that if you have a $100 pair of jeans that you put on your credit card and you're only paying off the minimum balance every single month, it'll actually end up costing you $214 to pay off those jeans. That's more than double the price of the jeans in actuality. So what we want to do here with our credit cards is to try to pay as much of our balance off in full every single month. If your credit card interest is high, let's say 15, 20, 25%, you want to pay as much of that down every single month, because let's say you're actually investing in the market. Well, in the market, you could get an average return of 8 to 10% over a single year. But if you can pay off your credit card that's 15% or 20% interest, that's like getting the equivalent of a 15% return on your investment. So that's actually one of the best places your money could actually be going, is that if you do have credit card debt that's high, just pay that balance off. The next money habit I want to talk about is falling for sales or impulse buying. These days, retailers know that if there's something like a sale, you're going to spend more money, or you're more inclined to spend more money. So what I want to show you guys is actually one of my favorite brands is called Rag & Bone. So I'm going to go into my computer right here and just search through my email for their newsletters. And I want to show you guys what's really crazy. So if we just search for Rag & Bone, we get a lot of emails here, but you'll notice that they have sales all the freaking time. For example, right here, ends today, extra 20% off. I got 2 of those. If we just scroll down, take 60% off right here. So, and that was in the span of, let's say, January 10th. And as you can see, they're doing a lot of sales all the time. But here's the thing, a sale is set by the retailer. And guess what else is set by a retailer? The prices. Retailers know this, and they're always gonna set prices and sales in the way that's gonna make them the most money. So whenever you see a sale, just really question it. Is the money that you're about to give that retailer worth whatever item you're getting? Another good way to think about this, especially when it comes to sales or impulse buying, is how much time am I trading for this good? If you want a pair of jeans that's $100 and let's say you make $10 an hour, well, that pair of jeans isn't actually $100, it's 10 hours of your life. It's essentially trading a full work day for a pair of jeans. And then when you think about things in this sort of manner, it's gonna help you prevent impulse purchases all the time. The next money habit I notice people making that I think is a mistake is not investing soon enough. If you haven't already started to invest, you want to save a small percentage of your income every single month towards your investment account or your future retirement account. In my video titled 6 places where your money needs to go, the first place where I say your money should actually go is towards a retirement account like a Roth IRA. So if you wait to invest or you're not investing soon enough, you could actually be costing yourself a ton of money down the road. Let me show you an example. Let's say you're age 25 and you have $5,000 a year to invest, and you start investing $5,000 a year into the S&P 500. The S&P 500 returns an average annual return of around 7%. So in 40 years, when you retire at the age of 65, your ending balance is going to be over $1 million. But instead, let's say you waited till the age of 35 to actually start investing, but everything else was the same. You still had $5,000 a year to invest for 30 years. By the time you're 65, your ending balance is only going to be $505,000. If you subtract out the 10 years of contributions of $5,000 a year, that means your actual difference in just starting to invest 10 years earlier is going to be around $450,000. So I urge you guys to look into investing as soon as you can. I have a lot of videos on investing for beginners, so if you'd like to check those out, I'll put those in the description bar below. I'll also link them at the end of my video here. You'll just be able to click on them, so look out for that. And if you enjoyed this video today, make sure to drop it a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and also tick the notification bell so that you can get notified whenever I drop a video, which is 3 times a week here. If you'd like 4 free stocks from Robinhood, if you deposit just any amount of money before February 1st, you'll be able to get that with a link in my description below as well. Lastly, thanks to all my Patreon supporters. I appreciate you guys being here. I'll see you guys in the next video. Couple days. Peace.